Good morning, everyone, and welcome to F1 Series, a conversation with team principals presented by the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And we're very thrilled today to host Jonathan Wheatley, whose career spans over 2 decades at the pinnacle of Formula One. And today he will share reflections on his journey from the early days in race operations to now leading Sauber through one of the most ambitious transitions in the sport's recent history. So first, Jonathan, we're curious, what inspired your passion for motorsport and what is it like entering Formula One in the 1990s, where it's very different from the modern age era of the current F1 grid?
Well, firstly, can I say hello to everyone?
Yeah,
Thank you for taking the time to join today, and it's exciting to be sat here and speaking to you. And I think the noise has probably got a bit quieter in the background. I started in Formula One at the age of 22. I think was just about to be 23 in 1991, and it was a very different sport back then. The entire travelling team was about 23 people, including everyone: the driver, the cooks, the chefs, everybody, all the marketing department.
mhm.
And there were only about 110 people back at Whitney. I worked for a company called Benetton and Formula One back then. And at their Oxford base, there were only about 120 people there. So, I sit here now responsible for something in the region of 800 people in the in Switzerland and about 400 people in Germany. So, yeah, very different.
For sure, for sure. And then after your stint with Benetton, then you move on to Red Bull, which is a lot bigger. You have probably more than 20 people just during a pit stop. So, you had a very incredible, successful career there, right? And then you are very characterized by your very composed demeanor and ability to stay calm in very pressurized environments, especially in the 2020, Hungarian GP, where your team was able to miraculously, repair the whole car within 20 minutes before the race start. So, what is your secret to, staying calm and leading effectively in what I must imagine is high stress situations?
I guess I've been involved in high pressure situations since the very start in Formula One. So for 34 years, I've been in high pressure situations, whether that's in a pit stop or managing a team or dealing with something that happens during a race. I've always found myself to be able to, I've always been able to detach myself from the emotion in the moment and just think it through logically. But generally, because I've prepared well, I've really thought about what would I do in a scenario like this. I spend a huge amount of my time thinking about what could go wrong, how would you recover from it, what would be the best way to do that. So generally, when I find myself in a situation like in Hungary, um, I've already thought through what I would do, and I don't have to change much about that plan. And I very rarely talk in any more animated a voice than I am at the moment, even during the middle of a race when you're under a huge amount of pressure. And I think, maybe that's always been an attribute of mine that's been helpful in my career.
Yeah, that's awesome. But pit stop is not just about you, but also with the rest of the team. Sometimes even under great leadership, sometimes if one person slips up, the whole pit stop is ruined. And during your time at Red Bull, you actually set the world record with a 1.82 second, with the fastest pit stop by then. So when it involves so many people and so many moving parts, what do you think is the secrets in executing a flawless pit stop?
I think that we're talking about 22 people in a pit stop now, and each one of them has to have a good 2 seconds,
Mhm.
and if they're exceptionally good, they have a good 1.82 seconds. And everyone has their own pressures, their own problems at home that they're dealing with, or an injury that they're dealing with, or something not going quite right in their life. And so, how do you make sure that everyone stays focused on that one goal? And it's by creating a culture of excellence, a supportive culture where people get to learn from mistakes and we get stronger as a result of it. And those 7 back-to-back DHL championships, in my previous team, that's the same as winning the Super Bowl 7 times in a row for a pit crew. It's an unbelievable achievement. And I've been so encouraged by how open the team here has been to trying new things and creating a different culture here internally. And hopefully we can build on that. And there's no reason why this team couldn't rise to the very top of that.
For sure. And I think even watching it on TV, it's like, a synchronized ballet. It's simply beautiful. But obviously, in a race, anything can happen, and sometimes pit stop errors are inevitable and can cost valuable track time or even track positions. So, how do you help the team, and especially the drivers, try to recover and bounce back mentally and stay motivated after such incidents?
I think firstly, you mentioned the driver. The driver has a very important role in the pit stop because he's the guy who's controlling the car as it comes into the box, the speed that the car comes in, the rate of deceleration, whether that's smooth or not. And then you have four gunmen who are holding a 8 kilogram wheel gun
Mhm.
that have to move that in time with the car. You know, it's a ballet. Honestly, if you watch the choreography of a pit stop, it's one of the most beautiful things that I think that you can do in sports because if you look at football teams, they have a great 90 minutes, or cricket teams, they have all day, and pit crew has 2 seconds to prove what they're capable of. And I think setting what do you want? I mean, honestly, in my role, you want boring, repetitive pit stops.
Yeah.
If you could get pit stop was 2.3 seconds and you never got a world record, you would do that.
Mhm.
Because strategy wise, it's about getting the car back out on track ahead of another car. And it's the most important thing. And things go wrong, but this is a human sport. What I love about it is the people, it's a team. And it's how you recover from those incidents, as you say, and the drivers as well. They understand. It's not, these aren't robots in a pit stop. The drivers make mistakes. We all make mistakes in our career. But guess what? Share the same mentality. We're all pushing the limits.
Yeah. That sounds great. And definitely, right, everyone makes mistakes. But maybe now following up on that, which is how we deal with mistakes. What do you think of recent, the McLaren's very controversial swap between Piastri and Norris after Norris suffered a very long stop? Or if I were to rephrase, do you believe the drivers should bear the consequences of the pit stop mistakes, or should the team use team orders, try to correct them and put a hand on the scale?
So every team has team orders
Mhm.
or team rules
Mhm.
or an agreement with the drivers that you understand. Because what do you want to do? Ultimately, if you're a team principal of a Formula One team, your job is to get the highest score in the Constructors' Championship that you possibly can.
Mhm.
And you want your drivers to contribute towards that as a team. That means every now and then when strategies are different to allow the other driver past and then reciprocate it later on. So these conversations are had all the time. And I don't really want to comment on how other teams do that because they have their own pressures internally. They have their own rules that they've arrived at
Mhm.
and agreed with the drivers. And it seems to me that whatever McLaren are doing at the moment doesn't look completely terrible because they just won the Constructors'
Yes.
Championship. And and unless Max Verstappen really manages to get that Red Bull where it needs to be, they're probably going to win the Drivers' Championship too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but maybe now switching gears, moving to stake, right? You already had an incredibly illustrious career, and now you are leading Stake Sauber as a team principal. So, what kind of motivated your transition, and how has your past experience shaped your leadership style now?
Well, I guess the whole idea of joining the Audi F1 project was hugely exciting. I'm a car guy, and I grew up in that era when those Audi Quattros were in the forest with flames coming out of the exhaust, and the Trans Am cars and all of these other incredible projects and these championships that Audi have won. So the opportunity to come here, also from a personal perspective, to work with Mattia Bonotto, who's heading up the technical side of the team. We run the team side by side. That was a great opportunity, one that I didn't want to pass up. But Audi entering Formula One, this is not just a great story for Formula One, this is a great story for sport, full stop. And if you look at the partners that are getting excited and getting on board with us, I mean, Revolut, bringing Revolut and as a title partner,
Mhm.
Adidas, BP, look at these companies that are getting involved in the project. The hair stands up on the back of my neck just talking about it. And for me personally, it was a fantastic opportunity to take the next role in Formula One, to get out of my comfort zone, and roll my sleeves up and get stuck into a new challenge and in a new country with a whole load of new people. And I'm reveling in it.
100%. And speaking of new challenges, Sauber's current, season has been extraordinary, right? Bordelado has showed really strong rookie performances, and Hulkenberg, his first ever podium in Silverstone. So, what do you think are the key factors behind these string of successes? And how did it feel in Silverstone witnessing the podium finish?
Well, let's talk about how we got there, I guess, first of all. So Mattia's been here longer than I have,
Mhm.
and I think you started to see the efforts that he's made on the technical side of the team, along with James Key, our technical director at the factory. When we put the upgrade on the car, the aerodynamic upgrade on the car in Barcelona, suddenly you could even see from the onboard footage to the drivers. I didn't have to look at the data. The drivers looked more comfortable. They could push the car. They
Mhm.
could brake later and turn into the corners later. They could transient acceleration, from left to right. The car looked more stable. It was still not as good as McLaren and the top teams in that respect, but it gave us a platform to work with. And both drivers just got stuck into it. And then you talk specifically about Silverstone, and I think with Nico, what you saw at Silverstone was a world-class driver delivering a world-class performance against world champions and other people, everyone who you would all agree are the best drivers in the sport. And in Sauber, he came third, which for us was an extraordinary achievement. But on the back-to-back of scoring so many points in so many races, it's just been a fantastic turnaround season for us.
100%. And no, again, speaking about drivers, right? They must cooperate for the team's success to win the constructors championship, as you just mentioned. But they are also individual fierce competitors. So how do you kind of balance between this teamwork with individual ambition? And what do you think are the biggest strength of this current Hulkenberg-Bortoleto pairing?
I think I've been fortunate to have been involved in driver pairings over the last 34 years in Formula One.
Mhm.
And some teams get pushed forward by two drivers that have an incredibly collaborative working relationship. And sometimes teams get pushed forward by drivers where there's a bit of friction between them.
Yeah.
But either way, they push the team forward. What we have here at the moment, I think, is one of the most exciting driver lineups in Formula One. With Nico, we have a proven talent, an incredibly fast guy. I mean, he just decides to win Le Mans and wins Le Mans.
Yeah.
Give him the opportunity at Silverstone, and he finishes on the podium in our car. And then on the other side of the engineering office and the garage, you've got Gabrielle, this incredible young talent. Looking to me, and I've worked with a lot of extraordinary talents in the past, like he's the real deal. And to have those two with a genuine, warm relationship, with genuine respect for each other, keeping each other honest in terms of lap times in qualifying, I have to say it's not a bad time to be the Sauber team principal.
100%. And also, just for everyone online, if you have any question, you can start typing it in. We're gonna move into live audience Q&A soon. You can type in the Q&A part. In the meanwhile, we also see that recently, right, Formula One has expanded significantly ever since the Liberty Media acquisition, right, through Netflix, social media, and global market. It really completely changed the interactions with the fans. So do you think this is a positive development, or are there downsides from this external noise and everything? And how do you position Sauber to kind of capitalize on this new environment?
Well, firstly, I think what Liberty have done for the sport has been incredible.
Mhm.
We've got viewing audiences 24 times a year, the size of a Super Bowl audience. We have a new demographic. When I first came into this, my briefings with Liberty, when they first bought the sport, it was looking like most of the audience were people in their late 50s
Mhm.
and getting older. And now one of the largest demographics is young women under the age of 30 years old. I mean, it's extraordinary. If we look at Netflix, the effect that that's had on the series here, but I think pre-Netflix, I could be in a restaurant downtown in Austin and
Mhm.
not see a team shirt anywhere. Post-Netflix, everyone's got a team shirt. It feels there's a festival vibe in Austin now that there wasn't before, and all the hotels have merchandise shops in them. And then the F1 movie. I mean, I found myself in this extraordinary situation with being stood on the. It wasn't a red carpet; it was a black carpet to simulate the track in Times Square earlier this year. So the sport's healthy. We mustn't lose track of that. We mustn't lose track of what the fans need from the sport, want from the sport, and we should give the people what they want to give. And from Sauber's point of view, I mean, it's coming to the end of the Sauber story, but what we're doing is we're ramping up on the Audi F1 project, and and as I've said, such an exciting project to be part of. And look at this brand, it's the largest car manufacturer in the world, and it's entering Formula One for the first time. It's an extraordinary time.
Yeah, and perfect. Just on the point of, moving on into the Audi chapter. So how do you balance between, still fighting for the current season versus preparing yourself for the next chapter? And in terms of participation, how has Audi like helped you with the current tuning of the car, and how is it gonna accelerate the journey forward?
I think I probably touched on it a little bit earlier. That was when I first had my conversations with Gernot Dollner from Audi regarding the role
Mhm.
and the modern way of Formula One with 24 races a year, plus the partnership engagements that you have to be at. You can imagine the events that I attend and go to, and it's all part and parcel of the project to share the responsibility of chassis and powertrain under Mattia and racing, commercial communications, everything else under me. It was exciting from the very beginning. And so therefore, Mattia's in a wonderful position where he can focus the team at the factory on 2026 and we can just not give up on 2025. I'm fully focused on this season.
Yeah.
The drivers are fully committed. The
Mhm.
engineering team, we're still developing, still looking at new ways of communicating, still looking at how we can get performance out of C45, our Formula One car. And yeah, we're far from having given up.
Awesome. And again, speaking of transitions, you yourself have gone through many different transitions in your Formula One career. So how do you manage the different culture and organizational dynamics every single time?
I think I've got a history of suddenly getting to the point where I'm too comfortable, and then I need to turn it all upside down, shake everything up. And we're very lucky. My family's been hugely supportive in my time in Formula One. I love the transition between Benetton being a small, disruptor team into a World Championship team.
That
I
was
love the same at Renault when we came back from a very low performing set of seasons to win the 2005 championship with Fernando, and then my opportunity to really roll my sleeves up at Red Bull and walk in at a team very much at the point that Sauber is now.
Yep.
Um, and I loved it, and I'm loving my time here at the moment. I've come across a hugely positive team, a
Mhm.
lot of young people. Just need a little bit of direction, a little bit of focus. It's been I think it's fair to say there's been a lack of capital investment in the team for a long time.
Mhm.
But now we're Audi. Becoming Audi next year. We're investing in the right areas. We're expanding our site because we're getting bigger. People sharing desks because of the ambition that we have as a team. And I think we're on that journey now, and it's hugely exciting. And I'm excited. I think everyone who's listening to this should be excited too.
100%. And also just now, hearing your story sounds like joining team and you really do your best to change your organization, turn it around. And very often you go from small team to championship winning ones. So in terms of the Audi project, what are your expectations for next year? Would it be for podium finishes, race wins, or placing the constructors? What are your expectations?
I think the thing that's so exciting about this transformation project is to bring together an Audi chassis and powertrain for the first time.
Mhm.
So to create these engines for these Formula One cars now, the efficiency of these engines, we've really almost got to stop thinking about them in terms of a conventional combustion engine. That's more like rocket technology. It's
Mhm.
more like sort of NASA technology that goes into the creation of these things. So it shouldn't be underestimated, the task that we have ahead of us. And we're hugely humble about where we're starting from. A small team in Switzerland with a lack of major investment over the years, and a brand new engine project. And bringing those two together are going to provide challenges. But all of the partners that I've talked about already, Revolut, BP, Adidas, all the others that are joining us, and it's a journey. So
Mhm.
what am I looking for? I'm looking to see continuous improvement in every area.
Mhm.
These little small steps, constantly challenging yourself. What could we do better? What have we learned from that? What should we be doing differently? Is anyone else being more clever than us? How
Mhm.
can we shortcut this ambitious journey we have to be winning winning races and challenging for championships at the end of the decade? And it's what we're asking ourselves day in, day out here, and we're on that journey now.
Fantastic. And speaking of trying to outsmart your competitors, right now Formula One has become increasingly data-driven. So do you think the next competitive edge will come from software or AI-based optimizations, or is it more of a traditional mechanical ingenuity that will prevail?
I think to achieve our targets, we need to be the best at every single thing that we do, whether that's how we communicate, whether that's how we bring partners on board, whether that's how we design the car, build the car, operate it, run it, the tools of technology, the correlation between all of those tools, bringing it together cohesively, making sure there are no silos in the business, that everyone understands that they're pushing in the same direction, that we create this culture where it's recrimination free and you learn from mistakes and you move forward. You talk about AI, what an incredible opportunity that offers, but also how fragmented that could be in a big business with little pockets of people using it in different ways here and there. Bringing together an AI strategy is one of the highest things that we have in terms of it is because as we all know, the rate of AI learning is exponential relative to the rather linear way that people learn. So, look, it's an interesting subject. We could probably do an entire podcast on that.
100%. But sounds like what you're saying is that it's not just about the technology, but also the people, the organization that can bring those silo parts together to really drive the overall performance. And maybe just on that point, when Henry is asking that, one of the audience members is asking that, you previously worked at Benetton and currently on the grid, there are many technical and management personnel like Alan Premain, Flavio Briatore, Pat Fry, and Rory Bryan, who have all previously had experiences there. So what do you think are the kind of things you learned at Benetton or organization skills, leadership skills that's so good that so many people currently on the grid are those alums?
That's a good question, and one actually I've asked myself a few times because at other levels, just one level down, the sporting directors that were also at Benetton at that time. I think it was a disruptor. Clearly, it brought a lot of young people into the team to do that. Something that I guess, without even realizing, because I've been a part of it, is something that I've always done with my teams as well. And I think also they were very good at identifying talent and helping promote it. And I learned my skills in that respect at the early days from doing the same thing. They offered me my first chance of a transformation project, which was, I don't know if everyone's aware, but testing used to be more intense than racing. So we would have three cars at a race because you'd have a car for each driver and a spare car. And then you would have a two-car test team as well. Sometimes you'd have one car off doing aerodynamic testing and another car doing tyre testing in a different circuit. I had the opportunity to go to the test team there, and carry out my first transformation. And actually, the test team became a stronger team and crew than the race team. So they brought me back to go racing, and it was a transformation project there as well. And I think Benetton showed me how you could do that, and how if you provide the right environment and the right culture, that you can achieve extraordinary things with a small team. And that's what we're hoping to do here.
100%. I know we are running out of time, so we'll just end on some final questions. So just now you mentioned that we should be excited for the sports now, and 100%. So many people, especially at U Chicago, are really excited. That's why back then I was so excited to reach out to you to have this conversation. So for a lot of us online and at the university who aspires to careers in Formula One, but yet do not have the direct connections, what kind of disciplines, engineering, data science, or operations do you recommend for them to focus on? And what do you think they can get their first foot in the door in this sport?
I think getting your foot into the door is the big thing. Use every tool at your disposal. Nobody's going to fight for you harder than you'll fight yourself. You never give up. If this is your dream and you want to make it a reality, you know how to do it. You've got to engage with the teams. You've got to find a way in. You've got to push. Look at the jobs. I mean, we're big organizations now. A lot of recruitment going on, a lot of people moving around in the UK to fill the vacuum that's been created by the Cadillac team, for instance. There's opportunity out there. And in life, you have to grab opportunity with both hands. It's why I sit here now and I live in Switzerland. And 6 months ago, I lived in England and worked for a team where I was wearing blue. I got into Formula One by a very unusual route, by somebody that I'd worked with before that turned out that they went to work for Benetton. I bumped into them at a petrol station and said, I don't suppose you've got any jobs going? And they said, yeah, maybe we have. And then before I know I'm a front end mechanic on Roberto Moreno's car at the French Grand Prix. So, you know, life is incredible, but you have to go out and grab it with both hands.
100%. So please let us know if you're having internship opportunities at Sauber team or in Audi going forward. I'm sure there's so many people online that would love to be a part of it. So at the end of our interview, we'd like to end with some rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions. So Jonathan, please answer them as short as possible and as quickly as possible. Let's go. What's your favorite racetrack to visit and to compete?
Silverstone,
Mhm. Favorite part of race weekends, the qualifying or the main race?
the race,
Right. Coffee or tea on race mornings?
coffee,
Favorite Formula One rivalry of all time?
Ayrton Senna.
Most memorable message you received after the Silverstone podium finish?
Probably from, it wasn't the one message, it was the volume. I got more than I did after the last World Championship that we won at Red Bull.
Amazing. If you weren't in motorsport, what would you be doing?
Trying to get into motorsport.
Ride or die then. So one thing fans will be surprised to learn about the pit crew.
That they come from all sorts of different backgrounds. So there's IT people, engineers, mechanics, electronics people. Um, it's not a super trained crew of specialists that come in just to do pit stops. They have other jobs during the week, and sometimes, you know, they're fixing people's laptops.
Amazing. Three words to describe Sauber and Audi.
On our way.
Oh, amazing. So I'm gonna tell you, say some names of the past drivers that you work with. Just describe each and one of them with just one word. Hulkenberg,
Underrated.
Bortoleto,
The future.
Verstappen,
The best.
Perez,
Indefatigable.
Ricardo,
Great.
and let's end with Vettel.
Underrated, I think. People don't realize just what a special run of 4 years that was. And I think they don't really appreciate just how special he was.
100%. I'm not Alonso fan, so those 4 years were a bit tough for me, but 100%. Such an underrated driver. So that's all the time we have for you today, Jonathan. Again, thank you so much for your sharing. It's been a true privilege to hear from you. And to special thanks to the Media Entertainment and Sports Group for organizing the event. We'll be recording this and releasing this to the University of Chicago. And on behalf of all of us online and joining later, we wish you all the best, especially for the spring qualifying later today. We'll be watching very closely as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone for joining.
Thank you.